All right, welcome everybody. It's 9:01 a.m. I'll call this meeting to order. Harmony, just as soon as you're ready, if you would call roll, please.
Director Brems, Director Cardenas,
Here.
Director Daly,
Here.
Director Keegley,
Here.
Director Olson, Director Peterson.
Alan, we can't hear you if you can hear us.
Director Prokopis, Director Silvestrini,
Here.
Director Stevenson.
Here. Thank you. Moving to public comment. Do we have any public comments today? Any online public comments? Seeing none. Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to mention that Mayor Dolly and I went on that tour. We were only able to see the east side of the precinct, but I was really impressed. I learned a lot. I really appreciate everything that all of you folks do out there. It was very educational.
Thank you. All right, item 3, resolution 24-1001 to ratify retirement and transfer of K9 Officer Nitro and express gratitude for his service to UPD. From Chief Nazarene and Chief Dial.
Thought you'd drawn your weapon there for a minute, Chief.
Trying to get comfortable. Come on up. I want to do this. Is this on? Can you hear me okay? I want to do this with Chief Dial because obviously he's over special operations. So I don't know if any comments, but I just wanted to quickly say we are going to retire our friend and partner, K9 Nitro, and we appreciate Austin and everything that he's done. It's been a very good dog. I don't know if you have any comments you want to add, please.
So I've just made some comments so I make sure I cover the good work they have done. This is, come on up. Austin, bring Nitro. This is K9 handler Austin Schmidt and his K9 partner Nitro. Today we would like to recognize the great work this team has accomplished as Nitro has reached his time in his career that retirement is appropriate. Nitro became a member of the UPD on August 5th, 2019, was paired with Officer Schmidt. 6 months later, Nitro was certified and completed all of his initial training in both narcotics detection and apprehension work. As a team, K9 Nitro and Officer Schmidt have been credited with more than 200 arrests, where Nitro has placed himself between many violent offenders and his handler, risking his life to protect the life of Officer Schmidt and officers of this department. In his many years of service, K9 Nitro has literally taken a bite out of crime. In addition, Nitro has found numerous pounds of illegal narcotics, making our communities much safer. When Nitro is not at work, he's either laying in Austin's bed, his own bed, or playing with a plethora of toys that Nitro has spread throughout his house. In the many years, Nitro and Austin have been separated for only about 10 days. The rest of that time have been joined at the hip, doing everything together. Although Nitro is retiring, Officer Schmidt is not, as he is most valuable in the K9 unit with his experience and training of our police service dogs in the unit. We ask your support for retiring K9 Nitro to Officer Schmidt to live out the remainder of his life as a happy, playful friend. Thank you. Thank you, Nitro.
Hey, I just thought of a question. What is the service life of a canine? What do they usually 5 years? Is that depends on the dog? Oh, he was older when he started.
Schmidt, will you just answer that out of the microphone so online
Oh,
can hear?
sorry.
So it depends on the breed, size, and everything like that. We got a little bit older, so 5 years for him would be, if we got him when they normally would, they'd be about 6.5, but he was 3, so he's 8.5 now, and that's about the time for the shepherds and shepherd mixes.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for his service.
I have a question too. So once he's retired and you'll be working, is that going to create anxiety for him not to be next to you?
First couple weeks, probably, but then he'll get accustomed to staying at home and doing whatever he wants. He free roams, so he has full range of the house.
You have good insurance?
He hasn't chewed anything in the last 5 years. I don't think he's going to start now. Huh. Plus, he doesn't have many teeth left, so I don't think he's going to do too much damage.
Okay. Well, thank you. We appreciate Nitro's service. With that, unless you've got anything else,
No, we just like to submit that to you.
I would entertain a motion. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Congrats on the retirement. All right. Item 4, UPD update, Chief Mazrin.
I love it when we have a retirement party and nobody gets bit. It's great. Yeah. We'll wait till he's out. Thanks again. Those guys work tonight, so I appreciate them coming down. A couple of quick things. So for the update, as we talked to you last time in a closed session, we had a trial that you were aware of that was completed. Our attorneys did a phenomenal job, and we got a defense verdict on that. So that's good news. And again, I just want to, Harry and our other attorneys and the people that worked on that case, including our officers that participated and represented the department, did a phenomenal job. So thanks, Harry. It's really well done. Yesterday, we met with many of your PIOs. That is moving forward. We are planning on putting out our first PSA coming up. It's related to Halloween safety. And some really good ideas came out of that meeting. It was very productive. And so you'll start to see more of that marketing and those kind of public relations come out of that group. Good group of people, lots of good ideas. So we appreciate Sergeant Race and the efforts there by not just your PIOs, but ours also. I've been going around visiting your council meetings for this last month. Been able to hit many of your cities already. And I've really enjoyed talking to not only you as board members, but your council members. And that's gone well. I'll continue to do that and to just give updates and answer questions. And so that's been a real positive experience. Now, we also talked to you and had the closed session about our building search, continuing to do that. It's not been as easy as I had hoped. It's taken a lot of effort. Well, we're still in negotiation with one particular property. I do not know how that's going to go. I will update you more to future closed session when I have other information, but we're looking at options right now and continue to push that forward as a priority task and project. So I will keep the board updated on that. And then, as you know, on the 25th, we have a Halloween party. We want to explicitly invite all of our board members. If you choose to come to that, you don't have to wear a costume. You can just come and eat all the candy you want. It'll be over at the Holiday Precinct. This will be the
We
first
can
time.
just dress as politicians.
Dress as politicians will be great. This is the first time we've kind of done this with this split, so it's going to be a little bit smaller, but a lot of good things are planned for it. And really appreciate, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but the donations that have been made to support that from various groups, which I'll share with you here shortly. Very generous, and we're grateful for that. I also want to notify you before I turn it over to Mark. We have received a grant, the SHSP grant for $100,000 for license plate readers. The more that technology develops with license plate readers, that is a game changer. You can solve major crimes and really create a lot of safety in the community, especially when we have some of these crimes that are real serious, kidnappings, you know, those abductions, homicides, things like that. These license plate readers can just change everything. So thank you, Amanda. That's really good job on that, and that's going to be a great grant for us. Saves us a lot of money, gives us a really incredibly valuable. So that's some good news there. And then I want to turn it over to Mark real quick. And just before I do that, I want to mention that just so everyone's really clear, you know, when we had this split with the sheriff's office 3.5 months ago, things have gone exceptionally well. We lost a lot of good people to the sheriff's office, but one of the, for me, I guess, I don't want to call it a surprise, but one of the really nice things that's happened to this organization is the influx we've had of people that want to work here and be a part of this team has been tremendous. I'm still analyzing on why that's happened, but we've had a lot of folks want to work here. And so we are working incredibly hard, not because we're out trying to find people, but we're trying to push people through the pipeline as fast as we can within reason without being reckless or cutting corners to get them hired. And so I'm very proud of that. I'm very optimistic, and a lot of credit goes to our HR folks. Poor Sergeant Dawson is about to probably have a stroke here soon because she has got smoke coming out her ears as she's just doing so much of this hiring and organizing and quickly moving to get folks here and get our staffing levels to where they need to be. So it's going very well. Mark can give you more details, but we've got a lot of people in the pipeline. The only thing we need is time. It takes time for this hiring to happen, and we just have no control over that. But the good news is, we're not struggling to find people. So with that, I want to turn it over to Chief Olson.
Chief, I have a quick
Yes,
question.
sir.
I apologize. I did miss the last board meeting. I was traveling, but I was just curious about the mandatory staffing and mandatory overtime. Are we still in that, or have we been?
We are.
Okay.
Yes.
You might have covered it last meeting, but I haven't seen the minutes.
Yeah, we are doing what we're calling mandatory constant manning of at least 4 hours. We've had a number of officers jump up and agreed to do more. Some are just doing what's required. But for the vast majority of the department, that's gone well, and we've had people step up and do what needs to be done. With that being said, that's not a very common occurrence at the UPD to have to do that. In fact, have we ever done that before? I think this is the first time. But the good news is I anticipate that's going to be resolved fairly quickly. And I'm hoping within the next 3 to 4 months by the January timeframe of next year, which is, it's hard to believe it's the middle of October. So that's not very far away, but we'll get enough staffing in place that we can start to either radically reduce that or eliminate it altogether. But our goal is to completely eliminate it as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Sharing my screen there. Morning. Thank you for the kind words for Lindy's sake. She is working very hard, and she is a one-man band up there. So she's doing her very best to get through this, and I just want to recognize her efforts. You got to meet her last month because I was out, so that was good. Just to give you an update on staffing, as of today, we're sitting on 26 vacancies, and that includes a resignation that we just received this morning, unfortunately, out of holiday. So you can see where each precinct is sitting as far as true vacancies here in yellow. Holiday's down 4, Mill Creek's down 6, Midvale down 7, Kearns down 4, Magna down 2, Investigations is down 2. So I just want you to understand that those vacancies, the orange line above that, if you can see that on your screen there, is the encumbrances that are currently in training. So those folks are not actually being, a productive part of the patrol function, but they are being trained, and they are encumbering the allocations in those areas as they go through that training. And so you can see we have 11 folks in that pipeline that have been hired that are currently in either pre-service or field training. As we speak, Lindy's upstairs onboarding 4 additional hires that will be attending the academy beginning next week. And then in addition to that, we have hired or made final offers to 7 additional folks that are either laterals or are already LEO certified. Those folks will be starting between now and November 1st. So in the next 2 weeks, we'll be onboarding all of those. The good thing about those folks, obviously, is they don't have to spend the time at the academy, so they're a little bit quicker to get through that pipeline. I won't go through this in detail. Again, this is always available on our network drive to any of the commanders. If you guys want this, I'm happy to send it to you. But this box down here in the lower left kind of breaks down exactly where we are with our hiring and what each group, what phase they're in and where they're at. So I won't go through that in detail, but just to give you an overview, we have 45 entry-level people in the process and 13 additional laterals in the process. So we've got, 58 people that are in the pipeline right now. So that's a really good thing. And I credit Lindy to getting all those folks through it. It's a lot of work. So credit to her. Moving on to the hiring incentive that we did in September. If you recall that, we had 8 people that applied that are currently in the hiring process that would be eligible for that. So the lateral applicants that have applied in the month of September, if they are eventually hired, then they would be eligible for that incentive. We did hire one individual that had left and gone to Salt Lake County and then came back. And so that's the officer role there. And so he was also eligible for that incentive based on the criteria. The good thing about him is he was literally plug and play. We hired him and just put him to work. We didn't need to do any training with him because he'd only been gone for, a month and a half. So that worked out really well. Yes.
You said we were down 26. There were 11 encumbered. 7 of the 11 were laterals. Is that counting these 8?
So the 4 that are starting the academy are included in that count. The other 7 are not. So in reality, with everybody that we've made an offer to, we're down 19 people as of today. So this is kind of a bit of a projection and reality. So I apologize if that's confusing. Moving on to attrition. For the year, we're at 104. 75 of those were the ones that left and went to Salt Lake County. So in reality, about 29, which is right on par and normal attrition based on historical data there. We also did have one of our civilian, the radio shop manager has submitted his resignation. He's going to be moving to take care of some family issues out of state. So unfortunately, we're going to be recruiting to replace him as well. So in the civilian, sorry, I didn't go through that down here. For the civilians, we're just down one in technical service. That's the radio shop manager. We have 2 in forensics. One of those, if you recall, is a permanent vacancy for this year that we use the funding for that FTE to buy a microscope. And then the other is just a part-time forensic tech that they're still working on hiring. And then in addition to that, we are still down a finance manager in the fiscal unit from when Rick resigned. We've had a couple of failed attempts to hire some folks in that, so we're still working on getting that filled. That's basically my summary. Just to go through where we're at as far as years of service, those folks that are eligible to retire, as of today, there are 45 of those. And then, well, actually, if you look at URS time, that's a little more accurate as to really where we are. So eligible today is 74. An additional 53 will become eligible in the next 5 years for a total of 127 by 2029. That's holding pretty steady. I'm not seeing any dramatic changes there. So, are there any questions that I can answer? Okay. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, we'll jump right into hiring incentive extension resolution 24-1002.
Okay, so to dovetail into the next conversation, as I said, we had 8 individuals that were eligible for the hiring incentive in September. We only approved that for the month of September. So if all of those folks are hired, that's about half of the funding that was allocated for that program. And so we're simply asking to extend that program through the month of October to continue to try and attract some additional lateral candidates. We're not asking for any more funding for that purpose. It would be the same monies that you've already approved. It's just an extension of time for people to apply. And, you know, so far this month, we've had 3 that have applied, 3 laterals that would be eligible for that program if you choose to extend that. But we're only about halfway through the month, so hopefully we can attract a few more. Any questions on that?
Mr. Chair, I'm supportive of extending that. And even in spite of the fact that I got yelled at by the Weber County Sheriff as a result of that, having one of his guys apply to our department. But I think we need to do something to fill these vacancies. We've talked about that before. And I think for the same reasons that we approved this before, it makes sense to extend it.
We actually offered that individual a job, so.
So the bottom line with all those numbers in terms of what our vacancies are and who we've got in the pipeline and who's encumbered, and we're projecting that maybe by February, not knowing if, you know, if we're going to get more resignations, I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
We track it, say 2 a month. Are we projecting that we would have basically full allocations by
That's our
February
hope.
timeframe?
Probably February, March timeframe.
Right.
There's some academy classes that start the first of the year that we would like to get some folks into. So that will be kind of a hiccup or a hang up until those classes start. But we'll make those offers. We'll get those people ready to go. And then once the class starts, we'll onboard them and get them going.
But, you know, I have to say that based on the concerns we had in July and August coming out of the completion of the transition and where we thought we might end up with the county transition, we ended up a little bit worse in terms of how many went over.
Right.
We have reason to be optimistic is what is being communicated.
Yeah, I believe so. So if you look at our current status, we have 19 true openings. That's about where we were in June. So we've made up the ground that we've lost, and now we just need to get to the point where we're fully staffed.
Yeah.
You know, it's an ongoing, never-ending cycle of people coming and going, but you know, based on the numbers that we have in the pipeline right now, I'm confident we can be fully staffed by February or March.
I just want to say too, I'm in support of extending the deadline and maybe even beyond or until the money runs out. That might be a conversation for another day, but I guarantee you there's officers that are watching this process very closely. I imagine a lateral with a financial incentive is fairly new to this market. I don't know, but I hadn't heard of it prior for cash. So I imagine there's people watching it and seeing how well it goes and how smoothly those first that transition over, and there might be greater interest in the future.
So there are a few agencies that do have incentives locally. It's part of what I've
Not to work for the UPD though.
No.
Yeah.
Right. So we've called a benefits and compensation meeting for next month. So I can start to present to you some of the findings that I have in the wage study that I've been doing for the sworn side, as well as some of the incentives that other departments programs that they're running, so that you'll have a good idea of what's out there.
Yeah, I just appreciate Chief, you and the staff getting on this as quickly as you did, and the board too. I think the board's to be commended too, and just trying to communicate to the rank and file who really got thrown into a difficult situation. You know, I think everybody's to be commended, but doing the best they can to jump on this issue as quickly as possible and, you know, use every tool in the toolbox to try to attack this issue. So, you know, optimistic that come January, February, we're going to be in a good spot.
Yeah, and we certainly appreciate the board's support with you know, funding the incentive and some of the things that you've done to support us. So thank you for that.
I've got a, sorry.
So, Mr. Chair, yeah, unless there's any other further discussion, I'm prepared to make a motion to approve Resolution 24-10-02 to extend the hiring incentive.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Do you have a question? Trying to, all these numbers, trying to keep them straight in my own head. So you mentioned, I think you said 58 in the pipeline. We're 19 short. How does that all even out? Because if I'm understanding correctly, we're not saying we have 58 coming in and we'll still be 19 short. And so are we in a position where we're hiring more than positions that we have, or I don't?
No, so there's 58 applicants basically that we're working through the initial hiring process. So those folks have not received a final offer of employment. They're just in the hiring process, which takes time.
Those are new officers, correct?
Yeah, most of them. Some of them are laterals. That includes that number of the 13 laterals that were in the pipeline.
So this just allows us to be a little more choosy with who we
Correct.
hire.
Yeah, which is a good thing.
Not all of them will pass background check.
Right.
correct?
It's a percentage of that 58 that will get to a final offer of hire. And so that's why, you know, with our anticipated attrition, it'll take a few months to get to fully staffed, but I think we're on the right trajectory for sure.
That definition of pipeline helps my brain, so I
Yeah,
appreciate
sorry.
it. Thank you. All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Appreciate
that
that.
passes. Thank you. Item 6, acceptance of donations. Chief Mazerin.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. A couple quick donations you'll see in your packet. First, from the Salt Lake Valley Law Enforcement Association, a donation of $500 for our Halloween party. We're very appreciative to them. And the second donation is the Salt Lake Honorary Colonels, who were very generous and gave us a $1,500 donation for the Halloween party, which they've done every year and have always been very supportive. So we appreciate both of those organizations that support our officers and our events for our employees. So I'd submit those to you.
Any discussion on that? Not with much gratitude, I would entertain a motion.
We have to accept the donations as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second? Thank you. We've got a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Thank you. Item 8, upcoming UPD meetings. We've got the Halloween party on October 25th from 1 to 6 p.m.
Actually, we still have the item 7.
Oh, did I just
surplus.
skip over that?
Apologize.
Sorry.
Didn't mean to
No,
interrupt you.
get there eventually. Approval of surplus resolution 24-10-03.
Thank you. Again, in your packet, you'll see the surplus. Again, it's all vehicles ranging from 2012 to 2020. So we're back in the business of, after the reorg, back in the business of surplusing vehicles. And our fleet folks have done a wonderful job in managing that pretty difficult project, getting us back to the rotation of our vehicles and surplusing those and purchasing new vehicles where needed. So those are vehicles that will be going to auction and surplused for our fleet fund.
Any questions for Maz on that?
Yeah, just one question. Do we have a contract with Salt Lake County for the fleet management, or how is that? I mean, we're still using their fleet operations for that, right?
Yeah, we're using their facility and we lease that or pay rent for that property. But we have our own fleet management. So Keith Cartwright and Michelle Schoenfeld are our fleet folks, and that's all they do is
Okay.
manage our fleet, make sure it's maintained, repaired, repair, vehicle crashes, figure out purchase of vehicles and surplus.
So we just pay as you go with the county on that then? There's not a lease agreement or a contract with them on that?
Yeah, and I don't know, we've upped that. We've had a contract with them for years, but yeah, we use basically their facility and their bays and their property. You know, we have to have a pretty large parking lot to park
Right.
line units and things like that.
Since July, is it month to month or are we still bound by contract until when?
I don't remember, Harry.
So it's the same contract we had when UPD, it hasn't changed. It's just maybe the scale of the contract's changed, but not the, okay, that's it.
Harry, is your mic on?
Okay, now it is. So we have an annual contract for different services with Salt Lake County, IT, fleet, others. And for this year, at least, it's been budgeted and the contracts with Salt Lake County are going forward. There were a couple of issues on a couple of the contracts. We needed some firm numbers, but I think that all of those contracts now have been approved. I'll go back and verify that, but I think that we've had those now signed. And then obviously, as we go forward, it doesn't mean that we're going to automatically renew again. In certain areas, we may or may not, depending on how we're proceeding. But right now, at least, we're under the Salt Lake County contracts for this year.
Thank you. If I had thought about that, I would have figured it out, I guess.
Any other discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the surplus of the vehicles, resolution 24-10-03.
Second,
Thank you. We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you. Now we'll move into upcoming meetings. We've got the Halloween party on October 25th from 1 to 6 p.m. at the Holiday Precinct. We've got benefits and comp on Thursday, November 7th, 9 a.m. in the training room on the 3rd floor. Got Citizen Academy graduation on November 12th at 6 p.m. In the community forum room here at Mill Creek City Hall. And then our next board meeting on November 21st at 9 a.m. The community forum, 2nd floor. Anything not on here that we should be aware of? Great. Move to item 9, approval of the September 3rd, 2024 and September 19th, 2024 UPD board meeting minutes. Unless there's any changes to those, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you. We've got a motion.
A second.
And a second. Thank you. Any discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, that passes. Do we have any other business?
I do, Mr. Chair. So there's a couple things I'd like to talk about, and I don't know if this is the first time that that finance is hearing about this or not, but I've had some discussions in our precinct about basically beefing up our mental health unit. We have one officer in Mill Creek. I think there's one in Holiday that work together with respect to addressing mental health issues in our communities. And based upon conversations with my chief, we want to hire a social worker to augment that response. And I want to offer that to other communities if you want to participate. Mill Creek is prepared to go ahead and do that as a precinct expense. But if you want to, play with us, that'd be welcome. We have 2 residential facilities that are basically like a deeply affordable housing alternative that provide a place for folks with mental health issues to reside. And we have had some additional response required as a result of some of those facilities. It hasn't been a real burden on our community, and our officers and the team that have been managing those issues have done a great job. But our mental health officer, Tracy Carino, just needs some help. And she had the benefit of a social worker when she was working in that unit, when it was under the wing of the sheriff. And now that it's not, we just need that. So we're going to put that in the budget. And I've already talked with our finance folks and with my council. So we're supportive of that. And I've invited anybody else that wants to participate in that. That's one thing. And then the second thing, speaking as an individual, you know, what I've noticed is that, and I know that other mayors and police chiefs around this county have made similar observations. We have a number of nonviolent petty offenders, if you will, folks that get busted for breaking into cars, breaking into garages, unlawful camping, and other kinds of things that are, you know, relatively minor offenses. And at this point, we just don't have space in our county jail to impose any kind of consequence on those folks. So there's a revolving door of our officers doing great work to solve these crimes and make arrests. Some of these folks get booked into jail, but you know, because of the space in the jail and the level of severity of the offense, they're turned out of the jail almost immediately. So it's a revolving door, and there are sometimes few consequences for this kind of behavior. And you know, these aren't violent criminals where they need to do serious jail or prison time. These are petty offenses. I don't know, I read an interesting article in the Atlantic magazine about carjacking in the DC area and in Prince George's County in Maryland and Northern Virginia, and their different philosophies about how to treat juveniles that are committing these kinds of crimes. And those are violent crimes. Those are getting people out of their cars at gunpoint, but they have the same issue there where some of these offenders are not getting any help. They're just being turned back out and into the public to reoffend. And while I'm a believer in restorative justice and the fact that there are some kinds of crimes that you know, we need to maybe deal with differently or provide treatment options for people to try to get them out of the cycle of that kind of violence or crime. We don't have the funding for that in Salt Lake County right now. So as an individual, I am supporting the Salt Lake County you know, justice bond that's on the ballot in this coming election that would build the Justice Accountability Center and provide essentially a step down or intermediate facility that could incarcerate folks that are committing some of these petty crimes, and then under the kind of program that has worked in other communities like Miami and Houston, Texas, and Reno, Nevada, basically connect these offenders with case management and treatment options to try to get them out of the cycle of this, because this petty crime is corrosive to our communities. I personally have had my car burgled in my own carport twice now. And I failed to lock it, you know, all the things that you're not supposed to do. But, you know, we forget about those things. But it's still, you know, it's invasive, it's corrosive, it affects the quality of life of all of our residents. And we're also, you know, not helping a population that I think could be helped more and could benefit from enjoying some of the consequences of their bad behavior, which we currently can't do. So I'm supporting this bond, and I urge other people to do that as well, just because I think we need to be creative about solutions. We don't have enough jail space to solve the problem with the current facilities, and this is at least a way, I think, to be creative and try to solve this problem. So thank you.
Just a quick comment as it relates to the previous issue. I spoke with Chief Hoyle yesterday and Gina Chamness, and we're kind of in agreement that the mental health pressures are not diminishing, and it's putting a lot of pressure on our officers. And I know it's going to be a budget impact for members out there, but I know our council will be supportive of, and I'm assuming we're talking about bringing on an LCSW to work with our mental health detectives in trying to impact these issues in our community. So I'm not sure what other communities will be able to handle or what they're going to support, but we're certainly, I know our council will be supportive of working with Mill Creek and sharing that cost in, you know, whatever way is appropriate to bring on somebody to work with our mental health detectives and try to deal with these mental health issues out in our community kind of head on. So we agree with you on that and we'll be sharing that cost with you or whoever else wants to get involved with that.
That's a question I had at the same subject. I appreciate the need for a social worker, but I was a little confused whether you were hiring it as a city social worker or if you're asking.
No, it's going to be a UPD employee that will work with our, mental health detective. And I don't know the bandwidth of one person, right? We may want to consider whether we need more of that. But, in talking about this with my chief, at least, that's one of the needs that I think it can alleviate. It can apply somebody who has some training to address the problem and also alleviate the need for other officers to respond to some of these calls that are repetitive and take up a lot of time and are just not being managed very well. So this would be a department employee. I'm not, our city doesn't have the capability of managing a mental health program like that. So that's why we'd hire them as UPD employee. But I'm going to do it as part of our precinct, and I'm inviting I'm inviting sharing if people want to participate. That's what
Yeah, and we anticipate just adding that to our precinct costs in whatever, in a on a pro rata basis, depending on how the cost is eventually going to be distributed out. But if it's just, I guess bottom line, if it's just Holiday and Mill Creek, we still want to participate.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Not with that, with another subject matter. I just wanted to, I should have said it in the public comments in the beginning, but I didn't think about it then. But we have a lieutenant in our precinct, Anna Walker, and she was awarded a award. Maybe Chief Dial can say what that is, Chief Oil. But anyway, what had occurred was she was up on one of our trails in Big Cottonwood Canyon in Brighton. And fortunately, she had a friend with her that was a nurse. But they came across a young teenage, I think it was a girl, that had severely strained her ankle and couldn't walk. So Anna, what she did was she called the UFA medical team, and they had the ambulance waiting for them. Meanwhile, this young individual could not walk at all. So Anna put the girl on her back and carried her 1.5 miles. And I can tell you that trail is not an easy trail. There's lots of boulders. So I just, so they awarded her a award for wonderful work. And the nice thing about this is we've never had our own officers up there. And it's just been great for PR with our community, with the officers. And I think this was just a perfect example.
Thank you. Any other business? Great. That I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second? Thank you so much. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
I believe the Slovisa board meeting is time sensitive, so we have 15 minutes till we can begin that meeting.